Thanks to the Svenske Forlæggerforening for inviting me. I guess that some of you Stockholmers are relieved that the Danish speaker was put in the English session, especially now that I have -3 minutes to do my presentation. Thanks for inviting me here today. I'm here to give you an overview of the two Danish e-book models that we have in Denmark presently. One called e-region.dk and the other one called e-bib.dk. We have had since 2011 talks between libraries, authors and publishers, and they have been based on two key principles. The first one, that libraries, they are important to publishers both as promoters of but also as buyers of literature. And as the demand for digital books grow, it is natural that we find models that make it possible for the libraries to fulfill their obligations. At the same time, these models that we find must balance the need to develop a commercial e-book market and must respect that the e-book market will not remain a niche market. E-region.dk was initiated by the two largest Danish publishers, Gyldendal and Lindhardt and Ringhof, in November 2011. It was motivated mainly by two things. The first thing was, let's start testing. This is unknown territory and we need some experience in this field. And the other one was that if we do not make some sort of liberal e-book lending models, we fear that political pressure will be on exceptions to our copyright. So e-region was negotiated by these two publishers and a group of librarians. It was a click model. I think you call it an access model in Sweden, meaning that there's a payment per download, meaning a book cannot be sold out, and meaning that there are no limits on the individual title. The model gave access to the entire trade catalog, e-book trade catalog of the publishers participating. It was approximately 100 publishers, so when e-region started up, it contained about 3,200 titles, which is quite a lot compared to other similar test models that we've seen around Europe. Originally, it gave the access to 30 days download of the book with the right to reloan for 30 days. Now this has been transferred into a streaming model due to piracy. We could see that all the books contained in e-region were subject to piracy, and we have seen that since e-region was put into a streaming service, this piracy has actually stopped. The characteristics of e-region, seen from the publishers and the author's point of view, was that it gave very little or no incentive to buy the book. It's a very well-functioning library service that cannibalized the market, and especially the bestseller. The other day I wanted to read Murakami, 1Q84, book 1. I looked on the internet. I could buy it on saxo.com, which is the largest, one of the largest ebook retailers in Denmark, with the price at 213 kroner, even reduced from 219 kroner. It was a bargain. Or I could go on e-region.dk and on one click on the loan button, it could become mine for 30 days. Actually, it's easier on e-region because I don't need to use my credit card. I'm already registered as a loaner. It's a very, very good service. So, of course, I chose e-region. So this is how we saw the development of the sales and the loan since we started with e-region. You can see in 2011, November, the orange line demonstrates the number of loans, and the brown line, unfortunately at the bottom, illustrates the number of selling books from Publisheren, which is the largest e-book distributor in Denmark. E-regionen was an experimental agreement. So from the beginning, we were supposed to renegotiate the agreement and look into the agreement again within 1 year. This development of the loans and the sales obviously called for amendments. It called for an agreement with some more friction so that we could also secure the development of a sound commercial sustainable market. So in 2012, we tried to have some central negotiations with the group of librarians, and this time with the Danish Publishers Association instead of only 2 publishers. We were supported in the negotiations by the authors' societies who also participated, and what we offered was a license-based model, which is a model with friction, because the patron might have to queue if the book they want to borrow has, for instance, only been bought in 2 licenses, and this is loaner number 3 who comes, then he will have to wait until one of the first loaners give up the loan, and then he will have access. And of course, this should, we hoped, give some motivation to sometimes go and buy the e-book if you cannot always get it for free at the library. But in October 2012, the librarians announced that a central agreement was not possible, and this was, I think, partly for ideological reasons, because they argued that the patrons would not accept having to queue for an e-book. So what happened in 2012 was that e-regionen stayed in business. We still have e-regionen as a library offer in Denmark, but all the large publishers, they decided to withdraw from e-regionen, but at the same time it was important for them to announce that they did not want to block access to their books, so they wanted to come up with a new model they would offer to the libraries based on a friction model, based on a license model. So in June 2013, we had e-book on the library market, which is this license model, where one license gives the right to 1 loan at a time. In the present model, when the library buys 1 license, it gives the library access to 4 loans, but only 1 lender at a time. It's also the entire trade catalog of the publishers who are in e-book. So presently we have approximately 6,500 e-book titles. The libraries, they are the ones who pick the titles in the catalog that they want to offer the lenders. And it gives access, like in e-regionen, to 30 days streaming. So this is the development of sales and loans. It's not possible to make the same graph as we had with e-regionen because we don't get that detailed statistics. But as you can see, the first two, they show from July and until November the development of loans, and the one on the right show the development of the commercial market. And now we are actually seeing that the sales to the commercial market is starting to push off, and we see a much more balanced model compared to the figures we had from e-regionen. A good question is, of course, are the libraries happy with this development? It's evident that a non-friction model like the one we have in e-regionen is more popular among librarians, but I think we have a good and frequent dialogue with the libraries, and they seem to acknowledge that negotiations and talks are the way forward so that we find sustainable solution. And to illustrate this, you might have seen this picture before. It was presented by the director of the Danish Library Association at a presentation at the Danish Agency for Culture in November 2013, where he told about the Danish models, and he showed this PowerPoint where he said that luckily in Denmark we have tradition to have good negotiated solutions so we don't end up in Swedish conditions. Not to insult you, this was the Danish Library Organization who made this one. So what about the future? We hope to continue the good dialogue we have with the libraries, and we very much hope that there will still be an openness towards testing, trying new models in this very immature market and see how they actually impact the commercial market. We need to share experience among especially, I think, the Nordic countries, and we need to find sustainable models respecting the value chain of the book. In practice, in Denmark, future agreements with the libraries will now be centralized at Danskernes Digitale Bibliotek, which is a purchase collaboration between the Ministry of Culture and local government Denmark. So they are the ones we're going to negotiate with in the future. And the scenarios that are being mentioned among the libraries and also among publishers is that we would probably see a model where e-regionen and e-bib will have a common front end, so the patrons don't have to access two different websites, and then we will have underlying different business models for the content. So, thank you very much for your attention.